Hey, what's going on, everybody? Brent Hyden here, coming at you on this Friday morning, talking 9 games around the NBA. Quick reminder again, the formatting of this podcast has changed just a little bit, focusing on just my main targets for each day, the games that I'm targeting, things like that. In an attempt to shorten this with the MLB season right around the corner, I want to make sure we have enough time to record and watch both NBA and MLB videos. Speaking of MLB, for you guys that may not be signed up to my daily content projections and all that good stuff. If you sign up between now and opening day for my MLB package, which does include projections, Discord chat, and daily breakdowns, you will get NBA for the rest of the season for free. And if you are already an NBA subscriber, don't forget you can sign up for a slightly discounted price. Details are posted in Discord in the channel pins, so make sure you check that out. But let's go ahead and hop into the slate. The games that I'm targeting heavily here: Washington at Charlotte, a 234.5 over under Charlotte, 4.5 point favorites. There's a few guys in that game that I'm going to get to that I absolutely love. I do like the Orlando side of the Dallas Orlando game. That's something that I hit on pretty heavily in the notes. Toronto, New Orleans has some interest for me. With Drew Holiday being out, there is some value that's going to open up in that game. Utah, Memphis, despite being just a 213.5 over under, a lot to talk about with that game. Because Ricky Rubio is doubtful. We have Denver at Golden State. There's a lot to like in that game. 234 over under. A guy, Nikola Jokic, who I'll get to later, one of my favorite options. And then Oklahoma City at LA, a 236.5 over under. Oklahoma City coming off an overtime win last night. But let's just go ahead and take a look at the plays that I'm targeting most in this spots. Looking at the Washington and Charlotte game, Kemba Walker coming in at just 8,100 over on DraftKings, just way too cheap here. And let me just go ahead and pull up his FanDuel pricing because I don't have it in front of me, and well, we all know that I absolutely hate FanDuel anyways, so I'm not going to pull up that site, but let me just go ahead and open up an Excel version of the projections for everybody so I can get his price over there. I'm sure he's like 14K over there because FanDuel loves to just screw up pricing on everything. But while I'm pulling that up, the reasons why I like Kemba Walker, obviously in a smash spot, Wizards giving up 116.9 points per game this season. Walker has kind of stumbled over his last couple games coming out of the All-Star, in his last couple games, but came out of the All-Star break really, really well. 50 plus fantasy points in two games, 40 plus in two more. Has been playing really, really well with Cody Zeller being on the floor, as I noted in the notes. Very, very high usage, 35% usage rate over the last 30 days, basically since Zeller returned to the floor. So this is a spot where I absolutely love Kemba Walker. I'm going to have a lot of exposure, especially at just 8,100 over on DraftKings. Washington, the team we have been targeting all season long with opposing point guards because, well, they're terrible defending the position. Kemba Walker is somewhat affordable over on FanDuel as well. Have that up now. He is just 9K over on FanDuel, so really good spot here for Kemba Walker. Going to be one of the first guys in my lineups tonight. That Dallas Orlando game, I did want to talk about DJ Augustin, and like I get that he's not a sexy play, he's not an attractive option. People kind of scoff at the idea of using DJ Augustin, but like this is a great spot for him. Dallas, a team that has really struggled against opposing point guards. Dallas, a team that has really struggled on defense recently as well, and that's really appealing. I like using Augustin as a cheap way to get exposure to this game here tonight. Opponents are shooting 70.5% field goal percentage at the rim over the last 30 days against the Mavericks. Augustin taking 28% of his shots there, 20th in defensive efficiency, 2 point guards. I really, really, really like the spot here. He's a guy who rarely has the upside games that you're really, really looking for, which is why I generally prefer him for cash games. But like he still has some upside. Dallas, a team that's posted a 115 defensive rating over the last 30 days, playing a little bit slow, 98.81 pace over that span, but he does have some upside even even when people don't really see it. Like 30 plus fantasy points in 6 of his last 20 games, has just 20 fewer than 20 fantasy points in 7 of those games. So I like the spot here for DJ Augustin, who, as you can see, did not have a good game against the Mavericks the last time these teams faced off. Looking at the next guy, Ben Simmons. Looking at that Philly-Houston game, we like Ben Simmons in matchups against teams that struggle to defend the rim, and well, Houston is one of those teams, as they're allowing opponents to shoot a very high percentage, 67.6% field goal percentage at the rim. Ben Simmons, one of my favorite options at point guard, alongside Kemba Walker here tonight. Looking at his price tag over on FanDuel, 10.6. He is 9,100 over on DraftKings. Over the last 15 games, Ben Simmons over the last 5 games, averaging 18 rebound chances per game. Harris coming in at 15, but Simmons converting on 71.1% of those rebound chances. He's seen his touches climb from 86 per game to 94 per game over that same span. Again, that coincides with Joel Embiid being out, and he is once again out tonight. Add in the fact that the Rockets 16th in defensive efficiency against point guards, and again, the lack of rim protection, and you have a recipe for Ben Simmons having a good game. 3 of his last 4, he's over 50 fantasy points. This is a spot where I absolutely love Ben Simmons here tonight. Gonna be a guy that I'm heavily targeting. Definitely some triple-double upside in this matchup here. Moving on to shooting guard, going back to the Washington-Charlotte game, Bradley Beal. Gonna keep on banging the drum on Bradley Beal. I know the price tag is expensive at $9,500, but for some reason people just keep on overlooking him. He is also expensive over on FanDuel at 10.5. But he continues to be a guy that's just paying off 50 plus fantasy points in 3 straight games. He's playing 37, 40 minutes per night against a Charlotte team that is just atrocious against opposing shooting guards. They rank 27th in defensive efficiency to the position. He owns a 28% usage rate over the last 30 days. Really safe floor. He's fallen below 40 fantasy points in just 2 of his last 20 games. I love the spot here. Charlotte has allowed opponents to connect on 38% of their three-point attempts. Beal, 34% of his shots come from 3. There's a lot of upside to be had for Bradley Beal, who, again, a guy you're locking in 40-plus fantasy points most nights with 50-plus fantasy point upside. I like the price tag. Going to be a guy that I'm going to get a decent amount of exposure to here tonight. Looking at Utah-Memphis, Donovan Mitchell, as I mentioned, not a very attractive game to target overall. Really low total with just 213.5 over-under. But Donovan Mitchell at 8,400 over on DraftKings, 8,900 on FanDuel. Very, very appealing in the spot with Ricky Rubio being doubtful. Donovan Mitchell, 37.3% usage rate, 1.27 fantasy points per minute. This is a pretty good spot. Comes in already sporting a 33.1% usage rate over the past 30 days, averaging 23.2 points on 23 field goal attempts per game. That's a lot of shots. 5 boards, 4.9 dimes, averaging 40 fantasy points per game over that span. Has had a couple down games recently, with the assists and rebounding numbers not really being there. Both of those against New Orleans, kind of tougher matchups. But I really, really like the spot here for Donovan Mitchell. Memphis defense still pretty good. Opponents have shot over 50% on 2-point field goal attempts over with Marc Gasol and Jaren Jackson off the floor. They do rank 12th in defensive efficiency to opposing shooting guards, but again, you're getting a guy with like a 37% usage rate, averaging 42.6 fantasy points per game without Ricky Rubio this season. I absolutely love Donovan Mitchell here tonight as well. Going back to Dallas at Orlando, as I put in the notes, I don't recommend stacking the Dallas or the Orlando side of this game, because then that would force you to get exposure to Dallas, and I don't really like anything from Dallas. But there are some pieces from this Orlando game that I do like getting exposure to, because, as I mentioned, Dallas has just been terrible on defense recently. I like the shooting guards. I like Evan Fournier. I really like Terrence Ross in this spot as well. By the way, Mavericks defense has allowed 129.5 points over their last 2 games. So yeah, lots to like here. But again, probably wouldn't stack a lot of this game. But Dallas allowing that really, really high 70.5% field goal percentage at the rim. We know Orlando fighting for a playoff spot, so they're playing their guys, Evan Fournier, Aaron Gordon, Terrence Ross, are playing these guys a lot of minutes. Fournier second on the team in minutes per game over the last 30 days with 33.5. He's averaged 16.3 points, 3.5 boards, and 4.2 dimes over that span. Again, talking about Evan Fournier, I think I misspoke and said Terrence Ross. But anyways, he's putting up almost 14 field goal attempts per game over that span. Dallas 18th in defensive efficiency to shooting guards. As I mentioned, their issues defending the rim. A pretty big boost here for Evan Fournier, who takes 26% of his shots at the rim, 32% in the paint in the mid-range, 41% from three. I really like Evan Fournier in this spot here tonight. Going to the Denver game, looking at Will Barton at the small forward position, 5,900 on DraftKings, 5,800 over on FanDuel. Was highlighted last game and definitely did not disappoint in that Lakers outing, putting up a really, really strong game. Has been playing significantly better recently. If you just look at his last 5 games, 34, 49, 39 fantasy points. But at that $5,900 price tag, I like the spot here for Will Barton. Had a good game against Golden State in limited minutes last time. Golden State has handled the Warriors or the Nuggets pretty well this season, but I still really like him, coming in averaging 34.3 fantasy points per game on 17.4 points, 6.8 boards over the last 5 games. Barton loves to attack the rim, takes 34% of his shots there. The Warriors struggling to defend the rim, 65% of their field goal attempts, or 65% shooting allowed at the rim. They've also allowed opponents to shoot 37% from 3 over the last 30 days. With Barton taking 37% of his shots there, I really like him here in all formats. The Warriors a decent rebounding team. It's not like they're giving up a ton of boards over the last Actually, over the last 10 games, they're giving up 48.1 rebounds per game. That's definitely a boost here to Will Barton. As I highlighted the last time the Nuggets played, he's actually been a guy that has increased his rebounding chances over the last 30 days. I'm pulling up those numbers right now, but he has 7.8 rebound chances per game. So I really like him here tonight. On the other side of this game, sticking at the small forward position, Kevin Durant, someone else that I have interest in. It's always tough to target the Nuggets with anybody, but Kevin Durant coming in at 8,900 on DraftKings, 9,200 on FanDuel. I like the spot here for him as well. Small forward is a spot where we've attacked the Nuggets a lot this season, and that bodes well for Kevin Durant, who really, really has a safe floor. He's topped 40 fantasy points in 7 of the last 10 games, and against a Nuggets team that has struggled, again, against small forwards, ranking 20th in defensive efficiency. I like the spot for him here. One thing that I do want to highlight, Denver's paint defense has been terrible. They're allowing opponents to shoot 46% on their attempts in the paint over the last 30 days. Kevin Durant, 26% of his shots come in the paint. So I really, really do like the spot here. As I mentioned, Kevin Durant, 8,900 on DraftKings. That price tag is just insanely cheap. I know he's coming off a down game against Boston, but that price tag, I can't overlook it. 8,900 again. Really good spot here for Kevin Durant, who's even at 9,200 on DraftKings. Really, really fairly priced. So I like that spot here for him. Looking at the power forward position, Derek Favors. I'm going to just keep on banging the drum on Derek Favors because he keeps on putting up numbers. And this is a spot without Ricky Rubio on the floor. 1.12 fantasy points per minute. Has over 30 fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games. 4 of his last 5 games. This is a spot he's had a ton of upside a lot this season. Field goal attempts are up. Rebounding is solid for him. Memphis, 26th in defensive efficiency to opposing power forwards. Over the last 10 games, they've given up 23.3 points and 12 boards to the position. They're also giving up 46.1 rebounds per game. And as I mentioned, the issues defending in the paint, where they're allowing opponents to shoot 50% on 2-point attempts. Their rim protection numbers have also fallen since Gasol and Jaren Jackson are no longer playing. So this is a good spot here for Derek Favors, who is expensive, 6,100 over on DraftKings. What is he over on FanDuel? Over on FanDuel, he is 6,500, but he projects to be a pretty strong play here tonight. Looking at Cleveland, Miami, a game that I don't have a ton of interest in outside of Kevin Love, who is 7,800 over on DraftKings. He is also expensive over on FanDuel at 8,600, but power forward is where I've wanted to attack Miami most of the season. Love, 32.2% usage rate, averaging 1.54 fantasy points per minute since his return to the floor. He eclipsed 30 minutes in this last outing, so that's something that is really, really appealing to see. He has topped 50 fantasy points in 2 of his last 6 games, the ones that he's played over 20 minutes. And that matchup, again, against Miami, pretty solid. Heat, 24th in defensive efficiency to opposing power forwards. They've allowed him to shoot 47.2% from the floor, 37.3% from 3. So I love Kevin Love in this spot. Going back to Dallas, Orlando, again, as I mentioned, don't recommend stacking the Orlando side of this game, even though individually everyone is in a great spot. I would get pieces here. Aaron Gordon, an interesting GPP option here to consider tonight. I do really like the spot here for Aaron Gordon, who does take a very large portion of his shots at the rim. Aaron Gordon is 7,200 on FanDuel, 6,900 over on DraftKings. As I mentioned, Dallas, 70.5% field goal percentage allowed at the rim this season. Dallas has been a top 10 defense against opposing power forwards most of the season, ranking 8th in defensive efficiency. But over the last 10 games, they've fallen all the way down to 27th. And now I know that's a pretty small sample size. And with Dirk Nowitzki playing more minutes, Dwight Powell, Maxi Kleber doing more in the paint, I would expect their defensive efficiency numbers over the last stretch of the season to settle somewhere in between like the 8 and 27 mark. I would probably say like 19th, 20th, if I were to take a guess. But over the last 10 games, allowed opposing power forwards to shoot 55.5% from the floor, 49.3% from 3. Again, Aaron Gordon, a guy does have a decent amount of upside. Looking at his shot numbers, I'm scrolling up in my notes, but he does take, I think it's like 40% of his shots at the rim this season, with something like 30% coming from 3. Aaron Gordon, 40% field goal, or 40% of his shots at the rim, 31% from 3. So I like the spot here for him tonight. Sticking in Orlando, Nikola Vucevic, 9,200 on DraftKings, 10K over on FanDuel. Really let us down against the Sixers. Let Amir Johnson and Justin Patton and Mike Scott slow him down. But 9,200, I'm going to take the discount on him here tonight. I love the spot here for Nikola Vucevic. Continues to be the team's workhorse when it comes to the offense. 27% usage rate on the season, 64.3 touches per game, 7 potential assists per game. That's really appealing. 18.9 rebound chances per game over the last 30 days. Against the Mavericks team, 47.4 rebounds per game allowed to opponents. 20th in defensive efficiency to centers. I just don't see a reason to not love Nikola Vucevic here tonight. Going to another Nikola Jokic, back in that Denver Golden State game. 10-1 on DraftKings, 10-9 over on FanDuel. Should be able to absolutely feast, assuming Denver keeps this game close. Comes in sporting a team-high 28% usage rate over the last 30 days to go along with his 86.7 touches, 10.5 potential assists, and 19.5 rebound chances per game over that span. I absolutely love Jokic in this spot. It is a great spot here for him tonight. That 10-1 price tag is really appealing as well. This is a great matchup here. I know DeMarcus Cousins and the Warriors and all that good stuff, but if you actually look at the numbers, Warriors, again, really struggling to defend the rim. They're 20th or 19th in defensive efficiency to centers. He has notched a triple-double in 5 of his last 10 games. Absolutely love him here tonight as well. Going a little bit on the cheaper side, at the last center position I want to talk about here, Steven Adams. Coming in at 6,200 on DraftKings, 7,300 on FanDuel. Of course, it's cheap on DraftKings, expensive on FanDuel because, well, FanDuel is garbage. But we love taking centers against the Clippers. They're the league's. They give up a league high 60 something fantasy points, 60 fantasy points per game to opposing centers. They rank 30th in defensive efficiency to the position. They give up a boatload of rebounds. So does Oklahoma City, by the way. But yeah, they're giving up a lot of rebounds to opponents. This is a spot where Steven Adams, who has been playing a little bit better, double-digit boards in four straight games, although I think last night that changed. So 4 of his last 5 now. Gonna play a ton of minutes. Oklahoma City jockeying for playoff position with Portland and with a couple other teams. I really like the spot. He's been really good against the Clippers this season. I really like the discount on Steven Adams in this spot here tonight. But that's going to do it. Those are the guys that I'm primarily looking at early on this morning. Things will definitely change as the day continues, but I will make updates in Discord and all that good stuff. But good luck in all your contests tonight, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.